I never imagined that reaching for another slice of pizza would be the moment my world shattered. From the living room, just past the open kitchen, I heard Mom's voice, sharper than usual, tinged with wine. She was laughing, but it wasn't her warm chuckle. She was on the phone, thinking I was out with friends, or maybe just too young to care. "She's not even my real daughter," she said, her voice cutting through the air. "She's been leeching off me for years." The laughter that followed was cold, bitter, like a punch I didn't see coming. It made me feel small, like the punchline to a cruel joke. I didn't scream. I didn't drop the pizza box. I froze, the greasy cardboard warm in my hands, the linoleum cool under my bare feet. My fingers tightened around the box, and I thought, stupidly, about how I'd just mopped the kitchen floor. She knew. All these years, I thought she didn't know. I thought I'd tell her one day, when the time felt right, that I wasn't her biological daughter, that my aunt had left me with her as a baby, promising it was temporary. That temporary turned into forever. School plays, late-night talks, prom dresses, college applications, she was Mom, always Mom. And she knew. She knew and used it against me. I slipped out of the kitchen before she could hear me, padding softly down the hall to my room in our small Willow Creek house. The pizza box was still in my hands, but I couldn't feel it anymore. I set it on my desk and stared out the window at the backyard, where we used to string fairy lights for summer barbecues. I'd loved those nights, thinking she did too. Or maybe I just told myself she did. My head buzzed. Her words echoed, looping in my skull. Not even my real daughter. Like all the birthday cakes, the homework help, the hugs after breakups meant nothing. Like every time I called her Mom was a lie she tolerated. She wasn't my blood, but I loved her more than anything. And now I didn't know who she was. I should have stormed into the living room, demanded answers, called her out. But I didn't. I sank onto my bed, the springs creaking, feeling like a guest in the split-level house I'd called home for 20 years. That's when it hit me, cold and clear. I'd grown up with a woman who saw my love as a debt, and I didn't know what hurt more, that she said it or that she meant it. I climbed the attic ladder later that night, each rung creaking under my weight. Behind the Christmas decorations was an old wooden chest I hadn't touched in years. My hands shook as I turned the key. Inside was a letter, my aunt's handwriting, jagged and desperate, begging Mom to take me in just for a little while. Her mental health was crumbling. She knew she couldn't raise me. She swore she'd come back. That little while became my whole life. I read the letter again, the paper brittle, smelling of dust and regret. I held it like it might break. She must have found it. That was the only way she knew. She found it and weaponized it. I looked around the attic. Old photos, my childhood drawings, a chipped World's Best Mom mug. All lies. She never asked about my past, not once. I thought it was because she didn't care where I came from, that love was enough. Now I wondered if she was just waiting, biding her time. I woke before dawn, the small town of Willow Creek still asleep outside. The air was heavy, like the house itself knew something had broken. I crept downstairs, barefoot on the hardwood, and opened the attic chest again. The letter sat where I'd left it, but now it felt smaller, less like a secret and more like a trap. I studied the creases, the edges. Had she unfolded it? Had she read it and slipped it back? Or had I been so careless that she stumbled across the most fragile piece of me without even trying? It hit me like a slap, how naive I'd been. I trusted her completely, believed she saw me as her daughter, because she acted like it. I thought love made me safe. In that chest were more than just letters. Photos, my aunt's medical records, proof of everything I'd hidden to protect her, to keep her from feeling like I wasn't hers. And now she'd used it against me. I looked at the family photos on the attic shelves, smiling faces at Willow Creek High graduations, county fairs, Christmases. Suddenly, they felt staged, like props in a life I thought we shared. I should have noticed the signs. The way her tone grew distant when she handed me her bank card to help with groceries. The times she asked me to log into her accounts to fix a glitch. The way she'd smile when I offered to mail her bills, saying, "You're so good with that stuff, Olivia." but I didn't want to doubt her. She was my mom. I wanted that to be true. Grief isn't just about losing someone. It's about seeing the person you love clearly and realizing they never saw you the same way. So I sat there, the chest on the attic floor, and whispered, "You were my mom." But this time, it wasn't with hope. It was with finality. I tried to act normal the next day. I made my bed, brewed coffee, pulled on my jacket like my heart wasn't screaming. But every move felt fake, like I was playing a role in a life that wasn't mine anymore. The mom who tucked me in, who cheered at my soccer games, wasn't real. That version was gone, and the woman I had now was a stranger who used my trust like a credit card. Still, I kept asking myself, why now? If she knew I wasn't hers all along, why wait so long to use it against me? Why play the loving mom for decades, just to throw it away in a bitter phone call? Unless it wasn't sudden. Maybe it had been happening for years, and I was too blind to see. That's when I opened the desk drawer in her home office. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a stray bill, a forgotten receipt. But as I sifted through her papers, a sick feeling grew in my stomach. There were bank statements I didn't recognize, withdrawals I hadn't made. Thousands, spread out over months, small enough to slip by, but big enough to hurt. I opened her banking app and scrolled. Months, then years. Then I printed them. Next, I found envelopes she'd asked me to mail, letters to the utility company, a donation to the Willow Creek Food Bank, a tax form. All unopened, tucked away. And between them, a loan application I didn't remember signing. My name, my address, my social security number. But the handwriting wasn't mine. It was hers, close enough to pass a quick glance. The loan, $10,000. I felt sick. My hands shook as I flipped through the pages. At the top was a lender I'd never heard of, some online-only company, with lax identity checks. I remembered the time my card was declined at the pharmacy, how Mom laughed and said it was probably a mix-up. How she offered to handle it, then bought me coffee like a mom smoothing over a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. I sank to the floor of her office, the walls of our cozy Willow Creek home closing in. Every photo, every holiday card, every piece of proof that I'd given my life to her, it was all a lie. It wasn't just betrayal, it was theft. Not just of money, but of my trust, my time, my identity. Mom hadn't slipped up. She'd made a choice. And I needed to start making mine. The coffee maker clicked off like any other morning. I poured my coffee, black, the way she teased me for drinking, and let the steam warm my face as I leaned against the kitchen counter. Through the window, the backyard looked the same, a little overgrown, still ours. I heard Mom's footsteps before I saw her, her walk heavy, probably hungover from the night before when she'd laughed about ruining me. She groaned, muttering about needing water as she shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. She barely looked at me. "Late night?" I asked quietly, stirring my coffee. She grunted. "You know how it is." The nerve of her. She sat at the table in her faded robe, scrolling through her phone with the same hands that had forged my name. And I stood there, smiling softly, offering her a bagel.
She didn't know.
She thought I was still clueless, not just last night, but always. She thought I was the girl who believed every excuse, every smile, every word from her mouth. I sat across from her, watching her scroll. "Anything good?" I asked lightly. "Just work stuff," she mumbled. "You wouldn't get it." She didn't notice how long I stared, how tightly I gripped my mug. Because I wasn't trying to stop her anymore. I was studying her. Every glance, every pause, every time her eyes drifted toward her office door like something in there was calling her. I wondered what else she'd touched, what other secrets she'd rifled through while I slept. But I gave her nothing, no hint, no flinch. "Don't forget to water the plants," I said, standing with my mug. Yeah, she muttered. And that was it. No fight, no showdown. Just a quiet morning between a daughter and her mom, except she wasn't really my mom anymore, and I wasn't just a daughter. I was a witness now, a planner. When she left the kitchen to shower, I waited until I heard the water running. Then I opened her office door and scanned for anything out of place. The desk drawer was slightly ajar, a folder nudged forward, the rug's corner flipped just enough to notice. She'd been in here again. I knelt and reached under the desk, feeling for the photo I'd hidden years ago, an old snapshot of me and my aunt, just in case I forgot what family felt like. It was still there, but something in me shifted. She wasn't hiding her tracks anymore. She was getting careless. That meant I had to start hiding too, not my pain, not my fear, but my strategy. The quiet became my shield. I moved through the house like always, vacuuming, folding laundry, checking the mailbox, but now I was memorizing everything. I cataloged drawers, files, even the way Mom's voice changed when she offered to handle the bills. She'd stopped pretending to be grateful long ago, treating me like a roommate who owed her. And now I was watching her watch me. She wasn't careful anymore. That was her mistake. She thought I was harmless. Maybe I was once, but not anymore. One afternoon while she was out running errands, probably at the bank, I went back to her office. This time, I dug deeper. I lifted folders, checked behind tabs, and found what I'd ignored for too long. Bank statements, utility bills, all accounted for, but 2 months of checkbook stubs were gone. 2 months when she'd insisted on mailing my bills herself, saying the Willow Creek post office had new hours. I'd thanked her for it. I felt sick. I pulled up the rug under her desk and pried open a loose floorboard. Years ago, I'd hidden birthday cash for Mom there, thinking she'd never find it. Now even that memory felt tainted. I reached in and found the envelope I'd taped to the underside. It was empty. Every time I looked, something else was missing. So I got systematic. I started locking my bedroom door. Nothing obvious, just a soft click when I left for work. I bought a small safe for my closet, tucked behind my sweaters, with a combination only I knew. I copied every financial record I could find, 1 page at a time, quietly, patiently. I started a notebook, hidden in my nightstand, listing every discrepancy, every signature that wasn't mine, every time her smile didn't match her words. Then I remembered something I'd overlooked. 2 years ago, I'd asked Mom to mail an updated lease agreement for my apartment share in town. I'd signed it, sealed it, handed it to her. She never brought it back. I asked twice. She said it was being processed. Now I knew she hadn't mailed it. If I requested a copy from the landlord, what would I find? My chest tightened. The next morning, I moved like always, slow, steady, invisible, but inside, something had hardened. The hurt was still there, but now it lived beneath something sharper. I wasn't grieving anymore. I was plotting. After Mom left for her usual coffee run, I went to the junk drawer and pulled out the old webcam I'd used for virtual college classes at Willow Creek Community College. It still worked, battery full. That afternoon, I set it up in the office, hidden between old novels and a dusty lamp, aimed at her desk. I needed proof. I checked the angle, hit record, and closed the door softly. Later that evening, I sat in my bedroom, my safe space, where Mom never bothered to come. She used to call it my little nest, and I let her think it was just a place for books and clothes. Now it was my command center. I hooked the webcam to my laptop through a secure app. Every night, I'd sit there, scrolling through job listings and check the day's footage. 2 days passed, nothing. On the 3rd night, I watched Mom slip into the office just after midnight. No lights, no hesitation. She opened the top drawer, my lease papers, my bank forms, my rental agreement. Her fingers moved with ease, like she'd done it 100 times. I leaned closer to the screen. She pulled out a folder, flipped through it, paused, then slid a single page into her cardigan pocket. I stopped breathing. She glanced around, closed the drawer, and left like she was grabbing a snack. No guilt, no rush, just routine. I paused the video, her face frozen in the dim light, a faint smirk on her lips. I sat there, hand still on my laptop, then grabbed my notebook and wrote one word. Enough. The next day, I changed my bank passwords, quiet and careful. I booked an appointment with a lawyer under a fake name from a book club I'd joined. Mom wouldn't know it. I opened a P.O. box in nearby Maple Grove, so no mail would come to the house. She didn't notice a thing. When she asked why I skipped dinner, I said I had a migraine. When she teased me about being spacey, I laughed with her. Because spacey is what she wanted me to be, and that's what made me dangerous. The lawyer, Sarah Bennett, didn't flinch when I showed her the papers. She was in her late 30s, sharp, no nonsense, sleeves rolled up like she was ready to fight. She didn't need my whole story, just the evidence. Bank statements, webcam footage, the forged lease agreement. She read in silence, flipping pages with a calm that made it feel heavier. When she looked up, her voice was steady. This isn't just fraud. It's calculated financial abuse. My throat tightened, but I didn't cry. I was done crying. Sarah slid the folder closer. These signatures aren't yours. Based on the amounts and frequency, we're looking at over $40,000 drained from your accounts over 4 years. The number felt unreal, but there it was. Withdrawals I didn't make, credit lines I didn't open, a $9,000 loan from an online lender, defaulted, still piling up interest. She'd used my name, my address, my birth date. Sarah leaned forward. We can report this now. Bank fraud, police. I'd also suggest rewriting your rental agreements and removing her access to your records. My voice broke for the first time in weeks. I thought she was my mom. I gave her everything. Sarah didn't say she didn't deserve it. She didn't need to. Her eyes said it all. I didn't want comfort. I wanted control. We planned the next steps. I'd close the accounts she could access, open new ones, authorize Sarah as my representative. She'd file a fraud report and work with my bank to recover what we could. When she asked about other assets, I paused. I thought of the small savings account for my part-time job at the Willow Creek Library, the one Mom didn't know about. I looked her in the eye. Yes, and I want her name off everything. Sarah nodded. We'll restructure your accounts. I'll draft a temporary injunction to block her access while we investigate. That night, I sat in my car outside the house, watching the lights flicker inside. Mom was home, probably on her tablet, probably checking my accounts, thinking she still had time to bleed me dry. She didn't know the locks were changing. She didn't know the storm was already moving beneath her. When I got home, Mom was where I expected, curled up on the recliner, scrolling through her tablet with the ease of someone who paid for nothing. Hey, she called without looking up. You were out late. Everything okay? I smiled. Just errands. Got groceries? No, I said, sitting on the couch's edge. Didn't feel like cooking. She blinked. That's new. I shrugged. People change. She grunted and went back to her screen. That was our last real talk for a week. Each day, I made quiet moves. I unsubscribed her from my accounts, rerouted my mail to the Maple Grove P.O. box, and told my bank I was consolidating accounts. She never asked why I stopped leaving bills on the counter for her to handle. She didn't notice the office folders thinning, but she noticed the silence. I wasn't asking for her help anymore, wasn't letting her pay bills online, wasn't reminding her about rent or taxes. I'd stopped being her system to exploit, and it shook her. She started hovering, lingering in the office for no reason, asking odd questions at dinner like, "Hey, did you ever do anything with that library job bonus? Or what bank handles your rent again?" I smiled. You took care of that, remember? She didn't push, not yet. She thought she had time. Behind the scenes, I was closing accounts. I opened a new checking account under a trust Sarah, and I set up, redirected my direct deposits, even paid my rent early to be safe. I revised my lease agreement in a quiet Maple Grove office. No fanfare, just Sarah, 2 witnesses, and my signature. Mom's name was nowhere on it. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I came home that night to Mom on the phone, laughing about my weird mood lately, saying I was probably just stressed from work. I stood in the hallway, listening to her mock me, still thinking I was oblivious. She thought silence meant weakness. She had no idea what silence could do. She still thought my money was hers, that I was too soft, too trusting to act. She didn't know how far I'd gone. The second meeting with Sarah felt different. I walked in with my head up, not carrying a folder of pain, but a list of next steps. We called it financial planning. I told Mom that too. Just getting things in order. I said over coffee, my voice light. In case something happens. She barely looked up from her phone. Smart, she muttered. Should have done it sooner. I smiled. You're right. The new financial advisor Sarah connected me with was young, sharp, and didn't flinch when I said I needed new accounts with no online access except through my lawyer. By week's end, I had 3 new accounts, savings, emergency, and one for future plans, all under the trust, all secure. I gave Sarah power of attorney, revoking Mom's. The old form had her name in bold, from years ago when I thought I was just being practical. I stared at it before signing the revocation, like cutting a cord I'd pretended wasn't frayed. The next afternoon, I visited the Willow Creek Credit Union. The teller looked puzzled when I asked to close my main account. You've been with us forever, she said. Yes, I replied. Too long. She nodded, catching the edge in my voice. When she asked if I wanted anyone else on the new account, I said, just me. I walked out feeling lighter. That night, Mom asked why the utility bill came by mail instead of email. They must have changed something, I said, flipping through a book. You know how systems are. She nodded, didn't push, because she wasn't watching closely anymore. She'd written me off. And that was my freedom. By month's end, every penny was locked away, every document secured, every password changed, no confrontation, just a silent tightening of the net she didn't know was there. It didn't happen with a fight or a scream. It was a glance across the room that did it. I knew I didn't love her anymore. She was sprawled on the recliner, same spot, same blank stare, tablet glowing in her face, feet on the ottoman I'd refinished last summer. The quilt I'd made for her birthday was bunched under her legs, forgotten. She didn't notice me watching. For years, I thought I was invisible to her because she was busy or tired. I'd twist myself into knots, forgiving her, wondering if I wasn't enough. Maybe I wasn't the daughter who called enough or helped enough. Maybe if I'd been different, she wouldn't have turned out like this. But watching her now, smug, so sure she still had the upper hand, I saw it clearly. She wasn't distracted. She was entitled. I wasn't invisible to her. I was conquered. She thought I'd been conquered years ago. That's what broke it. I felt it like a wire snapping in my chest, clean and sharp. The part of me that craved her love was gone. The guilt, the longing, gone. Melted like snow in spring. I didn't love her anymore. I didn't hate her either. I just saw her for what she was. A woman who used my love like a tool and expected me to stay tethered forever. She laughed at something on her tablet, some post she'd forget in 10 minutes. Then she looked up and smirked. What? I realized I'd been staring. Nothing, I said softly. Just thinking. Don't strain yourself, she chuckled. I nodded and walked away. I stood in the hallway, letting the clarity settle. It was like stepping outside after storm, the ground solid beneath me. I didn't love her, and that freed me to do what came next without guilt, without pause. That night, I opened a new folder on my laptop labeled Evidence. I organized the webcam footage of her forging my name, the bank statements, the revoked power of attorney. I recorded a short video of myself, calm and clear, explaining everything. Then I emailed Sarah. Subject: ready when you are. She replied in 15 minutes. We'll file Monday. Protective order, fraud report, full financial lock. We're close. I closed the laptop and walked to the living room one last time. Mom was half asleep, the TV flickering with a reality show she didn't care about. I looked at her like a stranger at a bus stop, someone I once knew, but who had no hold on my future. I turned off the light and left her there. Monday came, and I wasn't nervous. I wore my navy sweater, the one I used for job interviews at the library, and tied my hair back, the way Mom once called too plain. I even wore small silver earrings, my armor. The Willow Creek courthouse was quiet, smelling of wood polish and old paper. Sarah met me in the hall, folder in hand. Once this is filed, she said softly, everything changes. You ready? I didn't hesitate. More than ready. We sat with a fraud investigator first. I showed them everything. The footage of Mom sneaking into the office, the forged lease papers, the signature comparisons. I answered questions clearly, my voice steady. When they asked if I thought Mom was a danger to me, I looked them in the eye. She doesn't need to yell to hurt me. Look at what she's done. Then came the protective order. Sarah had prepared it. I just signed. They'd serve Mom within 48 hours. She'd be barred from my accounts, my lawyer, my home. I wasn't just reclaiming my money, I was reclaiming my life. The eviction notice took longer. Sarah said it had to be ironclad, no gaps, no delays. Mom would have 30 days to leave after service. The moment she saw that letter, she'd know her game was up. When Sarah handed me the sealed envelope, heavy and final, I didn't feel relief. I felt ready. That afternoon, I invited Mom to lunch the next weekend. Like old times, I said. She raised an eyebrow. You're not usually so nostalgic. I smiled. Just felt like something nice. She agreed without a second thought. Why wouldn't she? She thought I was still her pawn. The rest of the week, I prepared quietly. I backed up every legal form on 2 flash drives, emailed one to Sarah, and saved the other in a folder labeled library work. I changed the house alarm codes. Only I knew them now. I found the old safe in the garage, reset the combination, and locked every document with my name inside. Mom came and went, ate the food I bought, used the Wi-Fi I paid for, slept in the house I kept running. But I didn't flinch. She thought it was lunch, thought I was softening, thought I needed her. I let her believe it, just long enough to hand her the envelope. The table was set by 11 a.m. I used the white plates she liked, the ones she'd show off to neighbors like they were hers to claim. I made her favorite chicken salad sandwich, the kind she said was the only thing you get right. I even brewed her preferred tea. I wasn't trying to win her over. I was setting the stage. She walked in, grinning, humming like she owned the world. Wow, she said, eyeing the spread. What's the occasion? I smiled. Nothing big. She laughed, sat down, and poured herself tea. We ate quietly. She talked about some weekend getaway she was planning, dropped hints about needing cash. I nodded, sipped my tea, refilled her cup. I didn't say much, just watched her eat like it was any other day, like the last 6 months hadn't torn my life apart piece by piece. When she reached for another sandwich, I stood. There's something I've been meaning to give you. She raised an eyebrow, chewing. Yeah. I walked to the counter, picked up the thick envelope, and set it gently by her plate. She looked at it like it was a coupon book. What's this? Open it, I said. She chuckled, wiped her hands, and tore it open. She glanced at the first page, eviction notice, and laughed. Cute. Then she flipped to the next. Police report, fraud case reference, revised lease agreement, revoked power of attorney. Her laugh faded. The papers hit the table. What is this? I leaned forward, my voice low. It's your last chance. She scoffed. You're joking.
No, Mom.
I'm not. You're off every account, every document. You'll be served by the end of the day. You have 30 days to leave this house. She shoved the papers away. This is insane. I have video of you forging my signature, I said. Bank records, footage, witnesses, and a lawyer who doesn't answer to you. Her eyes narrowed. I'm your mother. I held her gaze. No, you're not. You are someone I loved, someone I trusted. But what you are now is a thief. Her voice rose. You'd kick me out over money? No, I said. I'm kicking you out because you stole everything from me. Not just money, but my trust, my peace, my identity. And you didn't even care. She stood, hands shaking. You think you can do this without me? I stood too, smiling. I already am. She tried to laugh it off, like I'd handed her a speeding ticket. She leaned against the counter, acting like it was nothing. You're not serious, she said, shaking her head. Come on, Olivia, don't be dramatic. I tilted my head. You think I got a lawyer for laughs? Her chuckle was shaky now. So, what, you're throwing me out after everything? You think anyone will buy this? I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the counter drawer she never checked and pulled out my tablet, already queued up. I set it between us and pressed play. The screen lit up, black and white footage of her office, 12:09 a.m. Her figure appeared, cardigan loose, moving through the dark. She froze. The video showed her flipping through my lease papers, pulling out a checkbook, holding a document to the light, slipping it into her pocket.
Clear as day.
She stepped back, hands raised. What is this? You, stealing from the daughter you raised, I said. She let out a nervous laugh. This doesn't prove anything. I'm not done. I cut her off. I swiped to the next clip, her signing my name on a loan form, filmed from my bedroom window when she thought I was asleep. The handwriting matched the forged application perfectly. Same pen, same desk corner. Still want to play dumb? I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, then sneered. You're going to ruin my life over this? No, I said calmly. You did that. I pushed the revised lease toward her. You're not on it. Not the house, not my accounts, not a single thing. She grabbed the papers, eyes scanning for an out. There's nothing left in your name, I said softly. Not 1 cent. You're crazy, she muttered, slamming the folder shut. I stepped closer, steady.
No, Mom.
I'm awake. You thought my trust was your free pass, but I was watching, documenting, taking back what's mine. Her jaw tightened. I'm still your mother. I looked at her for a long time. No, I whispered. You were a guest in my life, and now your time's up. The screen faded to black. The room went quiet. Then the doorbell rang right on time. She flinched. Who's that? I didn't answer. I knew who it was. She didn't move as the bell rang again. She stood there like a kid caught sneaking out, but this wasn't just a scolding, it was final. I walked past her and opened the door. 2 officers stood on the porch, calm but official. One held a clipboard, the other scanned the house with sharp eyes. Olivia Harper? One asked. I nodded. She's in the kitchen. Mom's voice exploded behind me. This is absurd. You can't call the cops on your own mother. She stormed toward us, arms waving, face red. She's confused. I didn't steal anything. I was helping her with her bills. One officer stepped inside, raising a hand. Ma'am, we're here on a fraud report filed by Ms. Harper. Please stay calm while we talk. I didn't do anything. Mom snapped. She's making this up because I'm not her real mom. The air turned ice cold. There it was, the first time she'd said it to my face, not to her friends, not as a jab, but to me. That's when I pulled my final move. From my pocket, I took a small recorder she didn't know I had. I pressed play. Her voice filled the room. She's not even my real daughter. She's been leeching off me for years. Laughter followed her friend's voice. You're a genius, Grace. She doesn't suspect a thing. You've got her accounts locked down. More laughter, a clink of glasses. The officer raised an eyebrow. Mom's face went pale. That's not. I didn't know you recorded that. Your friend emailed it to me, I said evenly. After your book club rant. She felt bad. You should pick better friends. The second officer stepped forward. Ma'am, based on the evidence and Ms. Harper's documentation, we're issuing a notice to appear. You'll need to vacate this residence per the eviction order. You're no longer authorized here. I live here. Mom yelled, her voice cracking. She's my daughter. This is my home. I looked her in the eye.
No.
It was my trust, and you turned it into a scam. Her voice broke. I just took what I deserved. That's the thing, I said, stepping past the officers. None of it was yours. She backed toward the hallway, eyes darting like she was plotting her next move. But it was over. Every lie was exposed. Every card played. As the officers explained the process, Mom looked at me one last time, not with anger, but with fear. For the first time, I wasn't trying to fix things for her. They gave her an hour to pack, to avoid a scene, but she didn't pack. She paced, argued, pleaded, then sulked. I sat in the dining room, hands folded, while the police outlined her rights. I didn't interrupt or offer her tea. She came to the doorway and looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. Tell them you made a mistake, she whispered. Please don't let it end like this. I didn't answer. Her eyes dropped. I was just struggling. You don't get it. Living here, it's easy for you. You don't know what it's like out there. I tilted my head. You mean out there where people work for what they have? She flinched. You never once said thank you, I said softly. Not for the home, the food, the clothes. Not for me staying when my aunt left. Not once. She swallowed. I thought you knew I was grateful.
No, Mom.
You thought I was expendable. The officer stepped closer. Ma'am, you need to gather your things now. She blinked. You really hate me that much? I stood.
No.
I don't hate you, but I finally love myself enough to stop letting you ruin me. That broke her. She stood there, face flickering, anger, shame, confusion, like she'd just realized the ground was never hers. She turned and walked to her room. I heard drawers slam, a suitcase zip, the bathroom door creak. When she came out, her bag was half-packed, her coat in her arms. She didn't look at me, but I looked at her. For the first time, I saw not a mother, not a betrayer, just a woman who thought love was a transaction and family was leverage. The officers guided her to the door. She paused, hand on the knob, eyes still avoiding mine. I hope you're happy, she muttered. I stepped forward, just close enough for her to hear. I'm not happy, I said, but I'm free. The door closed behind her. The silence that followed was vast, not heavy, but cleansing. I stood in the entryway, her absence lingering like a shadow in sunlight. For years, I'd carried her weight, her moods, her demands, her needs. Now the space she left felt like air. I didn't cry or cheer. I just stood there, hand on the doorknob, breathing. It was done. Now I walk alone in the early mornings, the Willow Creek streets quiet. I cook for myself, small meals just enough. I don't make extra or set a place for someone who saw me as a means to an end. The police didn't press criminal charges, but the fraud department froze her accounts. Sarah finalized a legal ban from my property, and the new lease was locked tight, not a dime to her name. She sent 2 emails. The first was furious, calling me ungrateful, delusional. I deleted it. The second came weeks later, softer. I miss you. I kept it, not because I believed her, but because it reminded me of something I told her when I was 13, caught lying about homework. You only say sorry when you lose what you took for granted. She didn't reply then. She didn't reply now. Last week, over coffee with a coworker, someone asked, "Do you ever hear from your mom?" I smiled, no hesitation. She was never really mine, but now I finally am. They didn't ask what I meant.